I'm really excited to bring you this upcoming interview with a very special guest. You'll hear her discussing all the great and courageous work that she is currently engaged in. If you feel inspired to help her continue these efforts, please consider making a donation earmarked for her projects. Or you can give a general donation that will support the wider movement in Myanmar. Our ongoing support has been very helpful and appreciated by many Burmese struggling during these dark days. Simply go to insightmyanmar.org/donation to contribute today, or stay tuned to the end of this episode to hear more options. Now, let's hear from that guest herself.
Hello, welcome to Inside Myanmar podcast. My name is Brangnam and I'll be your host for this episode. On March 28th, 2025, Myanmar experienced its most powerful earthquake in nearly a century. A 7.7 magnitude quake that struck near Zagain and Manly region. And the disaster resulted in over 5,300 deaths and more than 10,000 injuries across the country. And since the earthquake, we here at Inside Myanmar has been following the aftermath of the earthquake and the humanitarian crisis that followed. And we've been talking to people on the ground to figure out what happened and what is needed in terms of support in these different regions. And today we have a guest from the Inle region. Inle is known for its stilted villages and floating gardens, but it also has taken quite a significant devastation in the area. We have Chloe today, who is a native to the Inle region and who has been working tirelessly in the recovery effort since the earthquake happened.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today. And hi everyone, my name is Chloe, and I was born and raised in the township where the Inle Lake is in. And I currently work full time at a social enterprise, but right now I'm volunteering on the ground in Inle Lake, helping with earthquake relief supports. And so over the past few weeks, I've been working with local communities in raising funds to help in rebuilding homes for families who've lost their homes and everything in the earthquake. And today I'm here to share the experiences in Inle Lake after the earthquake and my volunteering stories in Inle Lake, to talk about what's really happening in Inle, what the people are going through, and how all of us, like local communities and local groups together, can support them in um, in rebuilding their lives and their homes.
Right. And we thank you so much for coming on and giving your time to talk about the aftermath of the earthquake. But before we get into that, um, because we have, for Inside Myanmar, we have listeners from all over the world, international audience, and the Myanmar diaspora who has left the country. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what Inle Lake is like? Because it's like an iconic place in Myanmar. It's a tourist attraction for both local and international.
Inle Lake is basically one of the most famous tourist attractions in all of Myanmar, where you can see a lake filled with houses or houses over the water, and and then there are some like the the there are like rowers in the lake. Their main income the uh, comes from the lake as well, because most of them are fishermen, and that's their main career. Um, it is also one of the I think it is also the second biggest lake all over the country. Before the coup in 2021, um, it is it was it was a developing city and a township where we have like more than 1,000 tourists every 3 months, and it was very peaceful, and it was
Yes. Yeah. I mean, in the as a local myself, it's a place where whenever we have time off or vacation, Inle is one of the top three destination that comes up into our head, whether we'll go to Bagan or it's Inle or Mandalay. So it's such a significant and place, and such a beautiful place. And you were mentioning that it's a place where people row their boats standing up on the back of the boat with their leg, and it's such an important place culturally. So it's so devastating that this earthquake has hit this area. Can you tell us, like, where you were when the earthquake hit, and what was like the initial reaction in the area?
yeah, when on the 28th of March, I was at home with my family, and we were just doing some daily activities like before. But when just after having lunch, and then I was doing my dishes, and that was when that disaster happened. I thought it was maybe it's because of the conditions in here. I thought it was bombing.
Oh, you thought it was a bomb.
Yeah. and and then my mom was like, I don't think it's a bomb, I think it's an earthquake. And then we just run out of the house, and the I literally thought the world was crumbling. I've never experienced like this before in my life. And after the first shock, I thought everything was settled down, but then there's a second shock. And that's when I realized that there will be more damages around Sakai, because that might be the epicenter. That's what I guessed, and that was true. And just after 15 minutes, I checked the internet, and then I saw the buildings collapsed. At that time, I didn't know that Inlay would be affected that much, because I never knew. Like, I know it never came to my mind. And when my cousin in Inlay, she called me, and then she was like, some houses in the village like has been taken down by the earthquake into the water. So yeah, I couldn't even believe what I just heard, and what I just saw on the internet.
Mm.
Yeah.
It is so telling that in the beginning of the experience of you experiencing the earthquake, it is telling that you thought it was a bomb.
Yeah. I know it's a bit stupid, but that's because all the conditions lead to that one solution, because that's what they are doing in the country right now.
Yeah, that's, I think, it's so true to the experience of people who are still living inside the country, like you and I. There is this normalization of this experience of like bombs going off, in Yangon, for example, and especially during 2022, 2023, there were more frequent like bombs that are going off in different neighborhood, and at one point you become, normalized to that. We will go back to the earthquake, but have there been like bombs going off, like bombing and fighting, where close to where you are?
Yeah, in our township, yes. In some villages, in Yangshui Township, there are some fightings going on for a long time now, and also there are some refugees in our township from around from Lasho and Loigo. They were all gathering in our township. So yeah, I can say that there are fightings around my area. Yeah, but we have never heard of any bombing.
I see. But it was the fear that
Yeah,
that is possible, right?
yeah,
That the war is close to you.
yeah. It's just emotional insecurity.
Yeah. Can you, this experience of like earthquake, something that you have never experienced in your life, this happened, and you were saying, you were looking at social media and finding out that, areas like Sagaing has been hit. But then when you find out that, it hit so close to home, in Inlay, what was like the first day or first couple of days were like, in terms of like going into the lake to to visit like affected villages? Like what were you seeing in the lake?
Because it wasn't like anything I've ever witnessed in my life. It was very when I went to many of the affected villages myself. Like what I saw was um, destructions on every corner of the lake, like roofs floating in the lake and houses turned upside down, like they had been literally picked up and then dropped like it's a toy.
Mm,
Uh, but um, what's even more painful to see than the physical destruction was the emotional weight, I think, because I saw people crying for losing their family members,
mm,
because it all happened in just seconds, and they didn't even know that they will lose who they love, like in those um, some seconds, and some people were just like sitting silently in disbelief, um, in their like temporary tents,
yeah.
staring at like what used to be their homes. Like it was very heartbreaking, because we also like experienced floods in 2024. At that time, the um, people could flee to monasteries or pagodas or some places as a temporary shelter. But this time around, there was like nowhere safe to run, because um, even those like sacred places were destroyed. Um, some were destroyed completely, and some were just partly destroyed. But uh, it, it they were not a very safe place to like accommodate all the earthquake victims, because um, I don't see like any security on that building that can hold a lot of people. So it left like
Mm,
people completely exposed, uh, physically and emotionally. And yeah, it's very heartbreaking to watch. And that's when I realized that I need to do something for it, like even though it's a very small effort. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you were saying, there's a sense of like there's nowhere to run to escape from this. So there's a sense of like even with the flood, there was safety, the places of safety where you can go. But with this earthquake, yeah, even the houses that you have lived has crumbled in front of you. So
Yeah.
there's a sense of like nowhere to run,
Yeah.
which is devastating. So what did you end up doing in terms of like trying to help the people and trying to like start to pick up the pieces, as to say? Yeah, what was like the first couple of days like in the lake, and what were you and your friends or your organization were doing in trying to help people?
Um, in the first couple of days, we were confused because all the news on social medias and then all the news that I'm hearing at home, it was very overwhelming, and it was very overwhelming to a point that I couldn't even decide what to do. And there were also rumors that there will be some aftershocks, even if it's true or not. And that was worrying me the most because if there were aftershocks, um, I can't imagine how that will affect the already affected areas like Inli, Sakai, and Mandalay. And so it was a very confusing couple of days where I cannot decide what to do. But um, when I went to Inlay, um, uh, I think that's where my inspiration comes from, like to do something like fundraising or something like that. Mm, yeah, and I think on 30th of March we decided to do a fundraising project for Inli Lake. Yeah.
I see. I think we were all kind of in the same boat in terms of like right after the earthquake, like
Mm.
we didn't know what to do, like where to begin, where to start in terms of like relief effort. And I think I was following the news, social media, and what's happening in Mandalay and Zakai were also so intense, that we also didn't know that Inlay was being affected as well. So in the first couple of days that you guys went out to see the villages and the destruction that the earthquake has caused, um, what were some of the urgent needs that people had, and what were they saying that they needed help with? Yeah.
Um, when I asked around in the villages, they all said the same thing, like they just want a home back, um, because it's not very ideal to just settle on the temporary tents, because um, it's it's like a makeshift tents built over tomato fields, and some tents are shared by like two or three families, or even four families if it's a very big tent, and they are not solid structures. They're held together by what people could find. Um, so these shelters offer very little protection both from the weather and the environment. And um, with the rainy season just around the corner, people are like incredibly vulnerable right now, and you can feel the urgency in their eyes, like in rebuilding homes, because these temporary tents, they won't survive heavy rains, and we're not sure if those families will be exposed again to whatever disaster we cannot see. Yeah, so all they were wanting was to have their home back. They wanted to rebuild homes. So they said, rather than the rice, water bottles, and stuff like that. They just want money. They just want to um, collect money as much as possible, and they want to rebuild it themselves, even though there's no support from any other organizations. Yeah, that's what they said to me when I went to that one village.
I see. Um, so it's been about 4 weeks now since the earthquake. Have you seen any like development in terms of people being able to rebuild some of the home in the region, or what is the situation like since then?
Yeah, there were some people and families who were rebuilding their homes, but um, in the first 1 or 2 weeks, people who can rebuild their homes are those who can afford to rebuild, not the not someone who has lost everything. Like
Mm,
they were starting to rebuild. I don't want to say they are rich, but they are in a comfortable state to rebuild their homes. So they started rebuilding the first and in the first couple of weeks. But there are also still some people who do not have like enough money to just buy materials and stuff like that. So it
mm,
depends. It really depends on it really depends on the village. It really depends on the families
mm.
to talk about the rebuilding process. Yeah.
I see. Um, in terms of like help um, for the region, and as you said, the most urgent need for majority is to rebuild the homes. Has there been any like international aid that has come in, or like from even from the military government to help what's going on in Italy since the earthquake?
Mm, no, unfortunately, because there were some support from the international NGOs and then international communities like Save the Children and World Food Program. They were delivering foods and some medicines and stuff like that, but not for the rebuilding things, not to rebuild the homes. And for the military government, I think I don't even have to answer because um, I think it will be, you know, we know better than anyone that it will be naive to believe that international aid going through them will truly reach the people who need it. There's been no real support or assistance from the military government. So, yeah, it's only us, the people, who can help restore our communities. Yeah, but despite that, we've made some progress in the earthquake response. So far, me and my friends, we've secured places and support to rebuild like 10 houses in 2 different villages, and then some of the construction already underway. Yeah.
Mm. I mean, yeah, I think in other interviews that we have done since the earthquake has also have the same kind of like we reached the same kind of conclusion, that is that the military government is basically um, mm, absent from the urgent you know relief effort and the rebuilding effort, and I think the majority of the people are also remembering what had happened during the cyclone Nagis and the mismanagement of international aid back then, and we are kind of seeing that like pattern being repeated with this earthquake as well, um, which is sad because in any kind of like disaster, after something disastrous as this happened, it's the government's primary duty to help rebuild the country. But as you and I know, both know, uh, the people who are acting as the government is more intent on destroying what is there rather than to rebuild what has been destroyed. So in terms of like trying to find funding to rebuild these homes in the Inle Lake region, what has been your your strategy, and how have you been going about to raise money?
Um, because we did fundraising for Inli and Yangshui Township when there was a flood in 2024. So we have like not that many experience, but we have some experiences in fundraising things. And honestly, it all started from a place of like um, helplessness, like because none of us could just sit and watch what's in front of our eyes. So yeah, a few friends and I got together and said, what can we do? And yeah, we started raising funds from our like personal networks and connections. And later we were spreading awareness on social media, and then we were delivering support directly to the families and then communities that are in need. And so, but we are not part of any official group, or we are not under any organization. We're just like regular people who care about the people. So yeah. Um, so, but there's not only us. Um, there were some youth and local charity groups. They have also stepped up, and these are the people on the ground, like doing the work every day. It's these local efforts that are carrying the weight of the response, because yeah, unfortunately, like I said before, international organizations and NGOs have like had limited access because of the military government. So in terms of strategy, um, we don't really have like a strategic planning team like any other organization. It's just our ideas on how to help and how to spend um, the funds that we raised for the people in need. So at first, we were supporting every families in every villages for them, like some money. It's not very much. It's just 50,000 for one family. But later we realized that um, rebuilding a house will be more effective and then more efficient. It will be a more efficient way to use the fund that we raised. So that's when we decided to do the rebuilding project. Yeah.
I see. Of course, since the since the earthquake has happened, we at Inside Myanmar, through our organization Better Burma, has also been very active in raising fund and providing humanitarian support. Um, and Yeah, so uh, we have also and since the earthquake, we have also been able to send some fund to Inle region to rebuild some of the homes in Kela village,
Yeah.
Nyaoshui, and we were able to fix some of the homes in the Inle region since the earthquake through the funds that we have raised here. So since the earthquake, we at Inside Myanmar, through our organization Better Burma, has been able to raise fund for the relief effort for the earthquake, and we were actually able to send money to the Inle region to for um, rebuilding some of the homes there, buying solar lights that are needed, and like through our fundraising effort, we can also, get in touch with Chloe to get Chloe what is urgently needed in the area. So please consider donating. Yeah, hope we can help you through the money that we've been able to raise. Um, yeah, and not just Inle region. We've also donated to Mandalay and Sagaing, and working with the local volunteer groups just like yours to get the help that the locals actually need. And that's why it's so valuable to talk to someone like you who've actually seen what's on the ground and know exactly what is needed, because I know that uh, there were a period of a time where there was a lot of people from Yangon just going up with just water bottles and needs that they things that they thought it's needed in the area. But then people in the area is like, yeah, we have enough water bottles. We
Yes,
actually need like construction materials.
yes.
um, so like, and because these villages in Inle Lake are on water, right? And I have seen through some of my friends' Facebook page that they actually need like really long bamboos in order to rebuild some of the homes, because that bamboo goes right into the water and right into the earth. Like what? So is that it's not a typical rebuilding kind of process. And I've also seen like some of the houses in Inland Lake were like kind of leaning to one side, but in some cases they were able to put them back up in a way. So what is like rebuilding process like for the homes in the Inland Lake region?
To be honest, building homes in Italy is it was very new to me as well, because to rebuild a home, there were bamboos deep down the water, and you have to pull those bamboos out in some typical way. I don't know how to describe that, but you have to use a chain. You have to use a new bamboo to just take them out, and it takes like a lot of time, like to uh, take it out, because we cannot use any machines. We just need we they only use like manpower
I
to pull
see.
out the bamboo, and that's what one of the process. And when you put the when you put the bamboo in the water again, it needs a lot of manpower, because you cannot just use a hammer to just put the bamboo in the water. You have to step on the separate bamboo, like maybe 5 or 6 strong men. They have to step on that bamboo to go to go into the water. I don't know how
I
to
see.
describe that. I have a video of it. I wish I can show you, but
I see.
and
So it's a somewhat complicated
yeah, it is.
effort that needs kind of like local knowledge
Yeah, yeah.
to rebuild these.
So yeah, there's a saying like the some construction workers on the land cannot work like the construction workers on the water, because it's completely
Huh,
different.
I see.
Yeah. And for the houses that are leaning into one side, like you asked, they use a machine, like a machine and a chain to just pull that back up, to pull the house back up, and they have to use some wood and then bamboo to just uh, support the side where the house is leaning. So it is also a complicated process as well. I just like found out like a week ago, when I went around the lake and then discovered what they were doing in with the houses. Yeah.
I see. You mentioned earlier that the impact of the earthquake obviously has taken a toll on the structures of the buildings and houses. Um, but it has also taken a toll psychologically on people. Um, what kind of like trauma have that you have seen on with the people that you have interacted. um, yeah, what kind of issues that are they going through, and what kind of help are they getting for that?
Of course, there are also emotional like insecurities around them, because uh, one there was one time I met with a homeowner, and then their previous house, it was in the water, and then they decided to build it on the land next to it, because we have like very small lands on any lake. Um, so I asked, why you building it on the land instead of the water? And then they said, we cannot afford to lose another house because we built it on the water, and they decided to build it on the land next to it. So it is, it's very heartbreaking to hear that, because Inle is famous for the houses over the water, and that's one of the uh, significant tourist attraction. And then hearing that building a house over the water is not safe anymore is, at that moment I felt hopeless, and then helplessness came into me directly. um, I didn't want that to happen, and I also wish that there could be some um, architects or structural engineers who can like build a house over the water with the resistant uh, plan to any natural disaster. Um, it would be like very great to see that happening. Yeah. So it was one of the traumatic moment of the local people. And um, another one is, in I don't know if you've ever been to a house in the lake. If you um, if you stay on the house, if there's a boat passing by, the house would shake a little bit, not
Hmm.
very much. So even me, I was sitting on that house, and then it was, I don't know if it was really shaking or if it was me, like after effect of the earthquake. uh, I started to run with the
Oh.
um, homeowners, and they also thought that it was an earthquake. So it
Oh
is,
no.
yeah, it is also, mm, it is also one of the emotional things that's been happening in the lake with these people. Yeah.
Yeah, what you're describing, some kind of PTSD, right?
Yeah.
And something that, um, something that people will carry for a while with them. I feel it's only been about 4 weeks since the earthquake, so we don't know how long some of these psychological impacts are going to carry within these inland villagers. Um, yeah, it's so tough to hear stories of. It's so tough to hear what you are describing, in terms of both, people being afraid to rebuild on water,
Yeah.
in which case we will potentially lose, cultural heritage in the region, but also this sense of insecurity that will follow them for however long. In while you are, interacting with, these villagers, and when you are out in the lake, helping people, um, what is there any instances that give you, hope, um, and sense of solidarity, um, in sense of community, while you're out there?
um in terms of hope, uh I can say that people of Inle Lake, they never lose hope. They all are like willing to just rebuild their houses as soon as possible, and then they all are also like helping each other out. In one village that I visited, they were starting to rebuild some homes, and their process is very amazing because um, for the houses that has collapsed completely, they prioritize them, and then the whole village, they build that house first. All the villagers, they help the homeowner to build that one first, and then move on to the another house. So it's like a collective efforts that they are doing there, and then it is very heartwarming to see that they have like solid they whole like um, you know they care for each other, they think about each other, and then it is very good to see that. And I hope other villages do the same as well, because uh, with the collective efforts, it can build so many houses, and it can rebuild so many lives, and then emotional security as well.
Wow, what you have described was very heartwarming. So, like, uh, in villages collectively helping build each other's houses one by one, taking turns almost.
Yeah.
I see. You know, it reminds me of this saying that we've been saying since the coup, which is in Burmese, "Ngaru ma ngaru we shi de," we
Yeah.
only have ourselves to rely on.
Yeah.
And it seems like that has been like, you know, um, proven true again and again over the past 5 years. Um, yeah, and and you said like, yeah, like communities relying on each other to support each other. um yeah, I think not just in this rebuilding process, but I remember like during COVID, we also had that sense of community and like, trying to help each other through difficult times. And I think that also carried us through the first year of the coup, during the protests, and the resistance that is continuing. There's a deep sense of like, we have to do it ourselves if we want to get things done. I want to ask you something about resilience. I don't know how you feel um, about this word, which has been used many times to describe Myanmar people over the past 5 years, having to endure the COVID, then the coup, and all these disasters that came afterwards, inflation and economic crisis. Um, do you feel that we are resilient people? And how do you feel being described as resilient? Because I know some of my friends who are living through this time are sort of like getting tired of being called resilient.
No, I think personally, I feel like it's a very good thing that we're being called resilient, because I believe that no other country can do this like us. Because we've been through so much, like for like, I think it's almost 5 or 6 years since COVID and coup, and people who are surviving until this day, it's I want to say like it's a very, you all are doing a very good job, even if you are in the country or even if you are outside the country. I know there are like there are there will be so many challenges, like living in the country or living outside the country as well. So I don't mind being called resilient. I like it.
uh, Glad to hear. I'm glad to hear it from somebody hopeful like you, uh, because I think there's a sense where some of you know some of us are getting tired of going through these, like, one disaster after the other. But it's very refreshing to hear that you're proud to be called resilient, and that whatever way we can we need to try to survive, we must try to survive. um to yeah, it's
Yeah.
so refreshing to hear. Yeah.
And it's,
um
I also believe that there will also be a price of being resilient. It will come around because what goes around comes around, right? And I don't think I want to lose hope, and I want to encourage everyone who is tired of being called resilient to not lose hope and to not like discourage um, from the outside world that you're hearing. So yeah, it will be paid off some days.
we hope so. We
Yeah.
hope so. um this might be unrelated to the earthquake, but I think for anyone, who is still in the country, I think, including myself, who is still inside the country, it's a relevant question to ask you as well, that over the past 5 years, you have probably experienced this as well, which is that many of ours, like friends and people from the community, especially the youth, has left the country, um, for security reason, for economic reason, and but you are still sticking around.
Yeah.
Why?
Um, Maybe it's because of my family, and then um, it, I do have respect for the people who left the country, and the but I personally chose to stick around, and even if I was away for like 6 months, like last year. I was outside the country, and then the flood in the lake happened, and it was also a disaster as well. It affected the area I am in, and then my family had to flee because our houses were affected by the flood. So, um, and that was the time I realized that I cannot. Uh, if when the flood was happening, like we cannot call. The internet has been cut off in the
Mhm.
area that my family is in, and I cannot call them, I cannot text them, and it was a very, you know it was a very sad moment that when you cannot do anything for them or for the people uh, around the area. So um, yeah, that's when I realized that I need to stick around here as long as my family is here. Yeah, I think that was one of my motivation.
I see. Yeah, it's probably the same reason for me, as well. And I think for me, like, I'm a visual storyteller. Before I started hosting podcasts, I'm more of a visual person. As a visual storyteller, I feel like, there's a need to witness what the country is going through, um, one way or the other, no matter how difficult it has been lately. And before we come into this, interview, when we were preparing for this interview, one of the things that we needed to talk about was electricity, right?
Hmm.
Whether you have enough, battery power in your laptop to have this interview even. um, Can you tell us a little bit about the power outage situation in your region? Um, because I think people outside the country sometimes might not know the kind of like daily struggles that we have to get around in order to live, quote unquote, a normal life. What's electricity situation in like around Inlay region?
Um, before the earthquake, we get like I think 4 hours a day of electricity, and
4 hours?
yeah,
I see.
in a day. Um, and then there's no like exact schedule like when it will be out or when it will come back and stuff like that. So we cannot guess, and we can when the power comes back in, we have to do everything like at the same time. And if you uh, for instance, like if you are late to put your clothes in the washing machine and you put it just before the power goes out, and
Mhm.
you can smell you can smell the clothes stinking because it's been left in the washing machine for so long, uh, while waiting for the electricity to come back. So yeah, that's the daily life that we have in Myanmar.
So
Yeah.
is it any better now or worse after the earthquake?
After the earthquake, we got cut off of the electricity for like 5 or 6 days, no electricity at all.
Wow.
And yeah, it was uh, uh you can't complain because there are people who are facing worse than us not having electricity. So yeah, and now we have electricity, but like I said, we cannot guess when it's gonna go out or when it's gonna come in. So yeah, you know it's one of the survival skills living in Myanmar.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Fitting our life schedules around the schedule of electricity. That since the turn of the year, since January, like even in Yangon, where I am, the power cut has gotten worse. And there was uh, after the earthquake, we had about 4 hours of electricity, and then like 24-hour outage for a couple of days as well. Um, yeah, so things has not gotten better. um, uh, and even after the earthquake, it's probably gotten worse. Right now we're back into like a kind of a regular schedule in Yangon where I can kind of guess when the power is gonna come and when the power is gonna go out. Um, but yeah, it's our daily struggle of being inside the country, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so in, despite everything, I, that's why I want to thank you for taking your time to talk to us. Despite the disasters that you are seeing in your region, despite the power cuts, despite everything, to come and talk to us and tell us what's going on in the Inle region. And you being involved in going through this. Going through this experience together with your local community in Inle. Um, is there anything that like kind of you have learned from this experience? Is there any takeaways? Is there any lessons um, from going through this?
Yeah, of course there are a lot of lessons that I've learned, but those are the lessons that need to be learned by the government. I think, because we have no like immediate response to this kind of disaster. We have no accurate plan. We have no rescue plan or anything like that. We had to, as you can see, we had to wait for the international rescue team to be able to rescue properly, and then all the local rescue team, they were trying their best with so little support or equipment. They were risking their lives, and it was, it was very heartbreaking to see our local rescue teams suffering so much, and they couldn't um, fulfill their duties because of lack of equipment or the information or the techniques um, that um, that were to be supported by the government. Um, so that's one of the lessons that I've learned. Also, from the people's point of view, I think we need to be more. We need to dive more into the um, emergency response as well, because from from what I heard and from what I've seen on the internet, most of the people, they don't know what to do when these kind of things happen. Some were staying in the house, some were like
Mhm.
they have that um, uh, superstitions when uh, when you run during the earthquake, and when you fall, you will have something bad happen to you and stuff like that. And I think it's the time of the I think it's the time to let go of those superstitions, and then and just do what you need to do to keep yourself safe and to keep yourself alive when these kind of things happen here. And um, yeah, I think that's those two lessons need to be learned by our people and the government, but they will not learn. I mean, the government.
You're hopeful about the future, but you're not so hopeful that the military government will learn anything from
Yeah,
this. Um, yeah, I think um, yeah, there's an aspect of education and knowledge sharing about natural disaster that has not happened um, in our country. Um, I mean, I think there are many of us who didn't even know that the country itself is situated on the this very earthquake prone geographically on
yeah,
these plates you know um, and like even the term Zagai fault line, for example. For me, to say it honestly, I'm hearing it like for the first time in my life, you know, and we live our country is situated on such a dangerous ground, and we had no education of like you know how to appropriately respond to earthquake, or there's no lessons in school that I remember like ever being taught about how to respond to earthquake. um, and also of course there's a um, what comes with the authoritarian government is the lack of regulation in terms of like building and building codes and the materials that are being used in these buildings uh, to be able to withstand earthquake or any disaster. I think there's a lot lacking from the governmental side, as you have pointed out. um, but yeah, and like you said, I feel like the lessons have to be learned by the people rather than the government,
yeah.
because because at the end of the day, we will end up trying to help ourselves.
Like what we're doing right now. So, um, if I don't know if all the listeners have heard about Inle Lake and its earthquake, but if you are are planning to help us and Inle Lake in some way, I think I would suggest the most effective way to support right now is through direct financial donations to the communities and then to the families who've lost their home. And because um, with collective funds, they can buy construction materials for rebuilding, and then they can uh, they can rebuild their homes faster if there's enough fund and enough materials. So yeah, and local charities and then groups like ours and some other donors, they are using these funds to rebuild homes as quickly as possible before the rain worsens the conditions here. So yeah, and we've already started building like 10 houses as a group, and with more support I believe we can do even more. It's also important to like keep sharing these kind of stories to international and local communities to help people understand that Inle isn't just a tourist attraction. It is a community full of life, culture, resilience, and love, and historical places. So the more people know, the more we can build um, pressure for greater support, maybe even from international communities. And if you are in a place where you cannot donate, you can just share these stories or this podcast uh, uh, to anywhere, like because it helps much more than you think. And the more people know what's happening in LA, the more likely it is that more support and assistance will come, I believe, from inside the country and beyond. Yeah, and thank you so much for listening. Like, it is a very valuable podcast uh, with having a chance to um, share and raise awareness of Inle Lake and its earthquake through Inside Myanmar. So yeah, I as the people of Inle Lake, we thank Inside Myanmar for bringing up this topic as well.
Uh, we thank you for your we thank you for your resilience. We thank you for your uh, work and dedication to trying to help your people, and sharing your story on this platform. And I think, and you have mentioned the monsoon is coming around the corner, which makes this rebuilding project quite urgent, because we are closing in on the end of April, and within about a month, uh, we will have a rainy season coming, and all those people who have lost their home will need to be in a safe place before the rain comes. Any help that you can give is very valuable. And as I have mentioned before, uh, our organization Better Burma has been able to help people like Chloe directly. So please consider donating and helping people of Inlay rebuild their homes and rebuild their lives. Thank you, Chloe.
Thank you too.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Insight Myanmar podcast. Producing these conversations takes dedication and resources, and through this process, we're committed to keeping them freely available for everyone. But to make this work sustainable, we do need your help. If you've enjoyed this episode or found it valuable, and if you listen to our platform on any somewhat regular basis, we ask you to consider supporting us with a recurring donation. It doesn't have to be much. Think of it as buying us a cup of coffee each month. That small gesture of committing to just, $5 a month can make a big difference in helping us to continue bringing these stories. And if you're feeling more generous, increasing the monthly pledge will allow us to produce even more on our end. In any case, any level of support goes directly towards amplifying the voices and stories that matter. This not only keeps us going, but ensures that these important conversations reach more people around the world. To make a contribution, visit insightmyanmar.org/donation or look for Insight Myanmar on PayPal or Patreon.
Waterfront unyana dadu ya danam biari gane zada mana wigara besayana besayo. Oba yarana da yarana ngana yarana ya da yarana boda ba yarana